Okay, so my name is Alice. I'm a third year student at the University of Saskatchewan and I'm studying psychology. Tia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Tia. I am a second year student in the University of Saskatchewan and I am studying English.
And I'm Brooke. I am no longer at university. I finished up in 2016 from the College of Law, and I actually have a class there now that I teach as well. So I'm still on campus a lot, but not as much as I used to be.
Which class do you teach?
I teach the criminal jury trial moot in the College of Law.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We just got our problem. I guess it would be about 3 weeks ago now, and we're doing a murder this year. So it's
Wow.
spicy. It's fun. It's more fun than like arson or something like that. So
Right.
There's like
That's very exciting.
yeah,
associated with different kinds of crimes.
more
Love it.
exciting when it's fake and no real people are involved. That's for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just get into it. Brooke, you decided to start the Monday Best to show that personal style does not have to be mutually exclusive from looking professional. The word, and in quotation marks, professional, like it's commonly described as narrow, masculine, archaic. Did you ever experience a time when you felt conscious about what you wore in the office? And was there a turning point where you became comfortable in your own skin?
Absolutely. So it was actually pre-office. It was my first year of law school, and we were coming up to our first professional mixer type of event where people who actually practice law already would come to the college and we would get a chance to speak with them. A very helpful event. But when we were approaching that event, our career person talked to all of us first years and said, okay, this is what's happening. Here's how we expect you to look. You need to wear a suit, and it needs to be dark gray, navy, or black. And basically, you just need to blend in with everyone. And obviously at that point in time, you're in a very vulnerable position. You want to make a good impression on people because you know from the very first year that jobs are tight, and you want to do everything in your power to make sure that you secure a job after school. And so there's a lot of pressure throughout. It's basically every interaction matters, so on and so forth. And so at that point in time, I felt a lot of pressure to conform to what I was told was expected of me and how to be a good law student, right? Everybody in school in general, especially in professional colleges, tend to be high achievers, and rule followers, risk averse, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of conforming that tends to happen at that stage. But I remember thinking, I don't really have anything in my closet that fits what I've been told I need to wear. More than happy to go shopping to find something, but I also don't want to be spending money on something that I hate. And then I started thinking down the road when I'm done school and I need to go to an office every day, do I want to hate getting ready in the morning? Like, to me, that was always a bright spot of my day. It's something that I enjoyed, like as soon as you get up, turn the music on, and it's just a fun part of the day. And I didn't want to lose that because of the profession that I had chosen. And so I started thinking about it more deeply at that point in time. To that first event, I will say I conformed to a certain point. I wore like bright orange loafers with my dark stuff. So I was like, there's a little bit of me in here, so it's fine. But I started to think about, okay, this is the norm and this is the expectation, but why is this the norm and the expectation? And I started digging deeper, looking into it, and I came to the conclusion that these norms were established when the professional world was dominated by men. And so, of course, that was like the male expectation, the wardrobe that you wear to work. You put on your suit, you put on your tie, you head out the door, and then you come home to your wife and 3 kids at the end of the day, and dinner's ready to go and whatever. It was a very different time. Since then, obviously, we've had women enter various professions, but those norms of what is professional didn't shift at all. They didn't move or expand to include the new professional group of people, which includes men, women, non-binary people, a lot more than like the white male that was basically the only person in the professional realm before. And so I decided, hey, I can still be myself and be professional. These two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. And so since that point in time, since I was a first year law student, I guess that's kind of where it all started. I've worked in my own everyday life to just expand the definition of what it means to be or look professional. And here we are.
That's really inspiring. Thanks, Brooke.
No,
Did you
Yeah, that's
ever-
awesome.
Did you ever feel resistance? Like, were there people, like, either females, males, or anyone that gave you resistance for how you chose to express yourself in the office?
for sure. So I never spoke about it for a very long time, but it was still something that I personally practiced. So I would wear what I wanted to wear to the office. I had a summer student position after my first year of law school, and then again after my second year. And then in my third year, I was articling, and I've been in our office ever since. So in my first year and second year summer positions, it was nothing that I ever spoke explicitly about, but I wore what I wanted to wear. And there were comments, but I was like, whatever. And those comments weren't necessarily always bad. I remember somebody came up to me one time and they're like, they said that you're the best dressed summer student we've ever had. And I'm like, well, it's not the best, it's just different. And it kind of was something that took people back a little bit. I didn't experience any resistance when I wasn't talking about it. However, when I started to be open about why I presented myself the way that I do, then people started to be a little bit more expressive with their resistance as well, which is very interesting, right? It's like, we'll put up with it as long as she's quiet about it, but if she starts talking about it, we're gonna have to shut that up a little bit. So it's been very interesting. I don't have any answers as to why that is, but that has been my experience. And unfortunately, I've had a lot of women express resistance to how I present myself more so than men. And of course, that could be happening for a variety of reasons. I know that men tend to be a little bit more cautious and hesitant today to say anything about a woman's appearance than maybe they were 5-10 years ago, with regard to various, things that we've had happen in the world since then that have gained a lot of attention. But I've certainly experienced a lot of resistance about what I'm doing from women, which kind of makes you extra sad, right? Like, we're supposed to support each other. And I've always found differences to be a good thing and something that I just don't have a problem with, right? You recognize them and you acknowledge them, but it's not an issue for me. And differences aren't always taken so lightly by other people.
Totally. Well, thanks for sharing. And like, you definitely inspire like Tia and I and everyone else that we've talked to. So you're doing great things for the community.
That's very kind. I really appreciate that. And I don't want to make it sound like all I've gotten is bad. There's been amazing things that have happened from creating the Monday Best, and some of the messages that I've gotten, like they kind of take me aback and give me shivers because I don't feel like I appreciate what is said to me, but I'm like, do I really deserve this level of accolade? But my thing has always been, for whatever reason, I don't mind speaking my mind. I don't mind standing up for what I believe is right. And so I've always decided that if me just speaking out about these things can make the corporate world better for the women that come after me, I'm more than happy to take the bullets. Like, I still sleep at night. I'm doing fine. And if it just emboldens younger women or older women to finally embrace themselves and not feel like they have to hide themselves in any way, shape, or form, I'm good, right? So thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. That's very kind.
Yeah, it's good that you're just embracing yourself and not worrying about what other people are thinking about you, right? So that's awesome. So I'll do my question next. So under your empowerment Instagram story, you have a quote by Olivia Wilde. The quote is, "Why does it make us uncomfortable to immediately identify a beautiful woman as stupid?" Sorry, comfortable, not uncomfortable. "A strong woman as unfeminine, a smart woman as not fun. If we're doing that to others, that means we're definitely doing that to ourselves. Allow yourself to be many, many things." That's the end of the quote. Where do you believe this idea comes from? Perhaps movies we watched growing up or being influenced by stereotypes given to us? And do you think these stereotypes will end?
Okay. So I was reading these questions again today, and I started thinking a little bit more deeply about this one in particular. This may be very naive of me, so I'll preface my answer with that. I don't believe that this expectation that women just be like unidimensional necessarily started with like sinister underbelly to it. I don't think it necessarily started out of that. When you look back to ancient agricultural societies, there was both genders at that point in time just recognized, man and woman, right? Both of them were taking part in the work and doing equal things. Like you would find women out in the fields, you would find men in the home. Everybody was sharing these tasks, which is, to me, I'm like, oh, sounds great. What they found happening was that women who were out in the fields, harvesting, plowing, doing all of the things necessary to bring in a harvest at the end of the year, they were experiencing higher levels of miscarriage than women who weren't working in the fields. And so as a society, they decided when women are pregnant, when they're with child, maybe we should not have them working in the fields because then our rates of miscarriage will decrease. And as a society who needs reproduction to stay afloat, this is a good thing. This is something that everybody could agree on. So then we saw a more clear splitting of tasks where women were more dominant within the home and men were more dominant outside of the home. So it started, like I said, I don't think in a bad way, where it was like, go make me a sandwich attitude. However, we've had various interventions since that point in time that have drastically changed the impact on our bodies of the work that we do, right? Like we have machinery now. We don't go out there with a plow that we're pushing. Like we've come a long way since then. However, the norms that developed haven't necessarily evolved with that. And so that's where the problem is, where, again, I don't think that these stereotypes necessarily had bad beginnings, but we have to continue to reevaluate things and readdress them as society evolves and changes, because what worked then may not work now, or it might work in very different ways. So I wanted to add that onto this so I don't sound like I'm like a man hater, because I think people get that impression sometimes of anybody who identifies as a feminist. But in our day and age, and we see it, like you made a reference to media, movies, all of that sort of thing. Like I'm wearing pink, I'm blonde, I'm 5'2". So sometimes when I bounce into a room, people are like, okay, here we go. Elle Woods at the podium. Like she's got hair for brains, right? And I'm like, that's totally fine if you are expecting that, because let me blow your mind. Like you have no idea what's coming. So we can use that to our advantage sometimes, but that doesn't mean that those stereotypes are okay.